What's up, everyone? Welcome to the channel. Today I am giving a team report on the team that I used to get top 16 in the Victory Road Welcome to Paldea tournament. This is a bit of an anti-meta team, but it is a big rain team, and I took a lot of time and have been working on this since the beginning of the format, so it's been really cool for me to see it succeed so well. So I wanted to share with you the rental code, which you can see here on the screen, and the team, but also it might be a little tricky on knowing how to use the team. So I want to give you my thought process that I used while building it, and how you can use it to find success in your ranked battles as well. So here is the top cut for the team. You can see me right at the bottom of the list in top 16, but this was a 465 player tournament with all X2 making top cut. So X2 means that you win however many battles and you lose 2. So if you win all your battles in the Swiss rounds with up to 2 losses, you made top cut. So 41 players fell into that category. Those 41 players, then a couple of them had to win a preliminary round at top cut to get to top 32, and then win top 32 to get top 16 to top 8, and so on. So the good news is top 16 was the cutoff for players making money from this event. So you can see there I won $74, a big payday for playing Pokemon. So it's always a good sign when you see that. A lot of really strong, great players here. You can see first and second place also from the US, but then I was the next player in the US. So I was the top 3 in the US to perform in this tournament, and I'm really proud with the result. So the team started with me noticing that Toxtricity paired with its Terra Normal paired with Choice Specs and Punk Rock ability, Boom Burst was just doing insane amounts of damage. So I wanted to build a team kind of centered around that idea, doing big Boom Burst, Terra Normal, Choice Specs, Punk Rock damage. I noticed that it just one-hit KO'd almost every Pokemon in the meta. You can see these Pokemon that you may be familiar with: Hydreigon, Murkrow, Garchomp, Arcanine, Rotom. These were kind of the good stuffs of the beginning of this generation that I was a little focused on going into this tournament. And then because a lot of the teams were utilizing Murkrow with its Prankster Tailwind, I wanted to be able to not worry about that Tailwind. And that's why Sableye was the perfect partner for Toxtricity. Its ghost typing let it be immune to the Boom Burst, and then it could fake out, so I could at least stop one target from attacking my Toxtricity before I can fire off the big damage, and then I could Quash a lot of times on the second turn. Quash slows down your opponent's move and puts it last in its priority bracket. So if I used Quash, then I would move first regardless of what speed control my opponent has. So if they have a Tailwind set up, I can Quash them and still outspeed them. If they have a Trick Room set up, I can still Quash them and attack them before they attack me. And you can see that last note, that it gets around redirection. A lot of teams trying to set up their Trick Room will use Follow Me or Rage Powder, 2 very popular ways to set up Trick Room. And so this way I could just use Boom Burst and hit both slots. Very popular way to win the game very quickly if they don't have a specific way to deal with Toxtricity. And then I was thinking about what to add to the team, and Rain ended up being the perfect partner for Toxtricity. It was kind of a good anti-meta, make sure that I have speed with my Swift Swim ability. Pelipper is one of the coolest weather setters because it also has the option to give you more speed control with its Tailwind. And then I just wanted to be really aggressive with this team. I wanted to move first. I wanted to hit hard. I wanted to force my opponents to react to me. Typically, I'm a very reactive team builder and a very defensive, and I have been trying to adapt more popular strategies or to win more frequently. And so one of the things I wanted to do with this team is have an oppressive, if you don't deal with me, you lose, rather than a defensive, oh, I'm going to switch in so you can never knock me out and slowly chip you down. I wanted to be the one in control of the battles. I wanted to be oppressive. I wanted to knock them out fast and hard, and it worked out really well for me. Water is one of the strongest and has always been one of the strongest types in Pokemon, and hits neutral against a lot of things. Rain kind of covers for its big weakness to grass, because Pelipper has massive hurricanes with its flying type to take care of those pesky grass types that might be giving you a problem. All right, so then with those 4 core already built, I was running into some issues with Goldango and Goldango specifically, and like Extreme Speed Dragonite and being faked out, getting Prankster Thunderwave from Grimmsnarl, all these really annoying things. And so I added Serena and Kingambit to the team to help with those matchups, and they actually ended up doing such a good job. The Choice Scarf on Serena allowed me to outspeed almost everything relevant in the meta, in my opinion. And they covered for those poor matchups like Goldango Murkrow just does no damage to the Kingambit and lets me fire off those attacks and kind of trade 1 for 1. Meowscarada is a natural enemy of Dreadnought with that huge grass moves and critting through any attempts to stop it. And so the Choice Scarf being able to U-turn into the Meowscarada gave me a lot of play against it. And I wanted to have game plans that couldn't be stopped. And Serena's Queenly Majesty allowed for, not being faked out, not being Prankster Thunderwave, not being Prankster Parting Shotted, not being Prankster Taunted. I could always do what I wanted to do before my opponent could react. That was the goal of the team. And so here is the run that I had. Starting from the bottom of this list was my first opponent. Going toward the top was my final opponent. So I did end up losing in top 16 versus Chongjun Peng. And if you don't know, he top cut multiple regionals in the 2021 season or 2022 season, and won the Salt Lake regionals with Rinya Sun, one of the first big successes with Rinya Sun in the format. So very strong player, and was able to make a good read against me at the end of game 3, which ended up losing me the match. He used a Rage Fist with Annihilate into my Terra Normal Toxtricity, calling that I would switch out into my low health Pelipper, and did get the read correctly and knocked me out. But you can see it was a really successful tournament for me. Lots of wins, lots of 2-0 wins. So the way this tournament was structured was you would play a best of 3. And so you would need to win 2 out of 3 of your matches to win the set. And this was not, important to note, this was not an open team sheet tournament, but we did know our opponents' Terra types. So I had a list of my opponents' Terra types, and they had a list of mine. That played into a lot of mind games, but ultimately what would happen is I would lead Sableye Toxtricity, Boom Burst, win the game in 2 turns, and then I would think about, okay, what does my opponent do now that they've seen this, now that they have been rolled over with this, and I like hard predict how they're going to adjust, and just do a completely different game plan in game 2, hit them really hard with Dreadnought in the rain from the get-go, and just win my games that way. You can see there were a lot of Hydreigon, Murkrow, Garchomp, Goldango. That was a huge metacore going into this tournament. It had done well in the previous tournaments. Lots of Sylveon and Meowscarada also have been on the rise in usage. Mainly because I would say Murkrow and Dondozo were two big Pokemon with targets on their back going into this tournament. Meowscarada forces the Dondozo Terra. If they don't Terra, it hits through their boosts with Flower Trick. Sylveon, just bulky, does a lot of damage with Hyper Voice, hitting those Murkrow and Hydreigon, again for super effective damage, forcing the Hydreigon to Terra. And that was another theme of my team, is I wanted to force my opponents to Terra as well. And then punish them for those Terra types. A lot of things were going Terra Fire, like Annihilate and Hydreigon. And if those things go into Terra Fire, then they're going to get hit really hard with Water and Rock moves from my Dreadnought and from my Pelipper. And so, the common leads for this team were Dreadnought Serena with Pelipper Kingambit in the back. This allowed me to U-turn into Pelipper and hit stuff really hard with a big Rock Slide or Waterfall or Ice Spinner. This was a really common plan against stuff that I knew was faster than my Dreadnought, but that I could outspeed with my Choice Scarf Serena. So I mentioned Meowscarada. I could U-turn out into the Meowscarada, break its Focus Sash, and then go into Pelipper and hit them with a Rock Slide, knocking them out through their Focus Sash, and before they had a chance to move. And then from there, I could just, I'm fighting a 3v or a 4v3, and I have speed control. I can set up Tailwind for even more speed control if they try to do that turn one. And then my other main game plan was to lead Sableye and Toxtricity, just straight up fake out big Boom Burst, Terra Normal, quash big Terra Boom Burst, big Terra Normal Boom Burst, and then if they manage to break through that core, they've taken a lot of damage, and then Pelipper and Dreadnought can outspeed things, always live with my Focus Sash on Pelipper, and finish the game from there. Now, if I had trickier matchups like Trick Room, I would lead my Dreadnought plus Sableye. I kind of did this to slow things down a little bit. I could Rock Slide, try to flinch them. If they lead differently than I planned, I can always switch Sableye into Pelipper and hit them really hard with Dreadnought from the get-go, but I specifically put Snarl on Sableye because it deals with a lot of the strong special attackers in the meta. Goldango, Hydreigon, Armarouge, Indeedee, and then Kingambit comes in. It underspeeds a lot of stuff if they do get Trick Room set up. Torkoal is one of the scariest things for it, so Pelipper protects it in the rain and with Wide Guard. And then Pelipper, Kingambit was the last lead that I would usually do to set up an early Tailwind. Kingambit's really bulky and dishes out a lot of damage, good at trading, kind of 1-for-1. Then with my Tailwind setup, I could come in the back with Toxtricity and Dreadnought and reverse KO them. And so here's the EVs that I did and the purposes for those EVs. You can see that my Dreadnought wanted to be able to outspeed Scarf Annihilate, often seen on a lot of Trick Room teams. They'll Final Gambit you and then set up Trick Room with their partner. And then it also ties base 110s like Gengar and Raichu at -1. My Serena had low sweep on it to lower the speed of things, and then I could hit them. So anything below base 110 speed, Dreadnought will be able to outspeed with that -1 that Serena gives them. And then I hit my attack bump, which is the highest stat point total that you can get with a Pokemon. If you are investing in its highest stat, which for Dreadnought is attack, and then every 80 points from certain points will give you an extra bump or an extra stat point in value. And so that is also what the thought process was going into Pelipper. I wanted to have as much speed as possible in case I was in a situation where I needed to go for a low kick onto a Meowscarada and knock it out before it moves. My Pelipper can always speed tie, so go for the 50-50 in that situation. With Meowscarada at -1, and then I just wanted to hit as hard as possible because I put as much speed in already, so I gave Pelipper the Focus Sash item and maxed out its special attack. Sableye, the EV spread, and the thought process going into there. Again, lots of special attackers, Hydreigon, Goldango in the meta. So I wanted to get a huge chunk of special attack, and then I dumped the rest into defense. However, throughout the tournament, I wanted to note here, throughout the tournament, I thought about putting in a little more speed to win speed ties against Hariyama if they tried to like fake out my partner. And Meowscarada, I actually didn't do any defensive calculations for that. And I saw today in the Cybertron video, it got one hit KO'd by a Meowscarada that had been put in overgrow range. And so that's a worthy thing going forward that I maybe be able to calc for going forward. So if you do rebuild this team, maybe take those into consideration. My Serena outspeeds Kilowattrel, which is again the fastest thing that I thought would be relevant in the meta. And so I can outspeed U-turn it and then Rock Slide to finish it off with Dreadnought before it gets a chance to set up Tailwind. My spread also usually lives a Life Orb Draco Meteor from Hydreigon. And then the rest is dumped into attack to hit as hard as possible. Then going on to the next mon is King Gambit, which my speed stat is to outspeed all Armarouge and Tailwind. So if they're as fast as possible, I can outspeed them. And if they're as slow as possible, then I always underspeed them in Trick Room. So it gives a good opportunity to play in both speed controls against that Pokemon, which a lot of times they'll try to go fast or they'll try to go slow, depending on the team strategy and the team synergy. And then the big Pokemon that the team was built around, Toxtricity, the EV spread was my speed stat was to outspeed Garchomp at -1. This was just, for Garchomp's a very relevant Pokemon. I wanted to have an opportunity if I needed to low sweep it and hit it before it moves, that I had that opportunity. Mainly, this was just to speed creep things in the meta so that I was usually moving first. I could quash something, still go before something else like a Rotom, an Arcanine. Sometimes those things don't invest a lot of speed. So I wanted to invest enough speed that I'm outspeeding those things that aren't putting in a lot of speed, that are trying to be bulky. And then my defense investment always lives a timid non-Life Orb Draco Meteor from Hydreigon. So I can either fake out the partner, or in a best of 3, if I find out that they're not Life Orbed, if they're Assault Vested or something like that, then I can adjust my game plans to always live if they decide to try to stop me. And then the defense investment, the best I could get was if a Dragonite was choice banded, Terra Normal with their extreme speed, and I didn't have Serena on the field, I wanted to have a 50-50 shot to live that. So that was my defense investment. The rest is in special attack, just to hit as hard as possible and remove everything from this field. And that should wrap up the team report. Let me know if you have any questions about the team down in the comments section below. Again, here is the code, the rental code on the screen, JP8AD9. Try it out. Let me know what you think of the team and any adjustments you might make to the team. And then also let me know, what is your favorite weather to use in VGC? Rain is definitely mine after this huge accomplishment in my eyes. Very proud of the team, very proud of myself and my friends who helped in the process. And I just want to give another shout out to, if you're here from Cybertron or That's a Plus One, I know they both made videos with this team recently. And so thank you, a huge thank you to those two players for the big shout outs and for using my team. And with that, I'll leave you and have a great rest of your day, whatever time it may be.